Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to our brand new video. I'm delighted to be joined by Craig Telford from A View from the Terrace. Thank you ever so much for coming on.
Nah, cheers for asking, Darren. Great to be here and happy to talk to you.
So what were you like growing up? Were you the cheeky person you're on View from the Terrace, or did you take yourself serious?
I don't know. That's a good question. I suppose you'd have to ask my mum and dad that question as to what I was like growing up. But I think on a View for the Terrace, you're presenting it with your mates. Like, I'm really good friends with Fowler and with Joel and Robert Borthwick and Sean. We've known each other for a few years, so there's a real chemistry there. So when you're hanging out with your friends, you'll know yourself. When you're hanging out with your mates, all you do is just rip the piss out of each other. I think that's one of the key things about being friends with people, is you can just absolutely rip them. And I get to do that like on the telly. So all the stuff that you see is just us just having a laugh, and they're great guys and very easy to rip because you know them that well. So I'd say that's it. I'm probably like that because I'm doing it with my friends. If I wasn't with my friends, I'd probably be a bit more quieter, a bit more just taking it all in.
So, like, obviously when you've obviously got a script.
No, man, we don't use scripts in the show.
Do you just wing it?
No, well, I suppose we say script. It's when we plan the show, we meet on a Monday, and what we do on the Monday, all the ideas that are going to go into the show, they go into. It's not so much a script; it's like a big document where all the ideas are put in. We meet up on a Monday, and then we say, "This will work. This will work. This won't work. Can you tidy this idea up?" So we've got an idea as to what we're going to be talking about, but all the words, all like the lines of dialogue, nothing's all scripted. That's all off the cuff. I mean, I'll write out my introductions when I'm introducing a segment, for instance. I'll write it out, but it's not like nobody gives us lines to learn or deliver or anything like that.
What's the funniest thing you've said to Joe?
To Joe, I couldn't tell you the funniest thing I said to Joe when we, because when we do the show, if you've seen A View from the Terrace, you'll know at the start where I introduce the guys. So I'll introduce Craig Fowler, Joel Sked, and then Sean McGuigan. And Sean McGuigan always does a hello. You know, you see that every week. That's effectively Sean's trademark.
So they tried with the in-betweeners.
I might try that. That's a good idea. But what I tried to say something about Fowler, then say something about Joel, and always the thing I say about Joel is really, really nasty about him, and it's just to try and get a laugh. But we can never use it; it can never be broadcast. So it's always just trying to say something really nasty and hurtful about him that will get a laugh off everyone else, and then we do the proper one that can be used on television. But there's been that many nasty things said about him. But I say this, but as I said earlier, I say that about him because he's one of my mates. So you can say that about him.
I mean, next time you obviously do it, obviously next week, you should say when you introduce who is it that puts the thumbs up?
Sean.
You should go, friend.
I'll try that. I'll give that a go next week. See how we get on with that.
What got you into TV?
Well, that's a good question, Darren. Nothing really got me into it because I would never have seen myself as like a television presenter. What had happened was back in 2018, a guy called David Harron, who works at the BBC, approached Craig Fowler. Craig Fowler, of course, runs the Terrace. David Harron approached him and said, "We've got an opening on this BBC Scotland channel for an hour-long weekly show. I'm a big fan of the podcast. Can the podcast be adapted into a TV show?" So Fowler put it in our group chat. We've got a WhatsApp group chat. Fowler put it in there, and I thought somebody was taking the piss. I thought somebody's at it. There's not a chance in hell anyone wants to turn this podcast into a TV show. But no, Fowler went for a meeting with him, and it turns out that was the case. So he spoke with Robert. Robert is involved with the Terrace, but he also works for a company called Studio Something, and they are a creative company. They do like advertisements, they do like strategies, like marketing for other companies, and they were looking to get into television. So they saw that as an opportunity to take on making A View from the Terrace. We made an episode of the show. and that was the one that got picked up. Made a pilot. It got picked up by the BBC, beat off 4 other companies, and that was it really. So I couldn't say I went looking for it. Just very, very lucky to be with a bunch of guys who make a really, really good podcast every week, and someone took a chance on it. So I couldn't say I went looking for it. I would say I was just like lucky, really, if I'm being honest, Dan.
First job you've done?
Whatever. I worked when I was 15, might have been 14 or 15. First job I did was I worked for it was a shop called RG's. It's now a Spar, but it was RG's in Stenhousemuir. And it was basically shelf stacking and working behind the tills when I needed it. And I've not thought about RG's in years. And it was rubbish. It was really rubbish. It was like, you know, selling drink. Well, underagers would come in looking for drink. I thought because I knew some of them, I went to school, so they thought they could get the better of me. And I ended up getting sacked from RG's because it was a mistake over holidays. I thought I was entitled to a weekend off, but it turns out I wasn't. I went away on a holiday with my family. I went to Ireland for a long weekend and came back, and I'd been sacked for gross misconduct, despite the fact it was a misunderstanding. But aye, that was my first job. RG's, £2.50 an hour. That's how much I was paid.
Pretty shit then.
Well, I suppose it was probably fair at the time when I was living with my mum and my stepdad, and I'd only work like Saturday nights and Sunday afternoons. But aye, the wages were pretty shit. I remember when it went up to £3 an hour, so I got a whole 50 pence added on to my wage. So aye, what a day that was. Loved it.
What made you be a Stenhousemuir fan?
Again, that's another good question. Stenhousemuir, in the mid-90s, Stenhousemuir had a really good side. Terry Christie managed him. He was a manager famous for wearing the duffel coat. And in 1995, they beat Aberdeen in the Scottish Cup, got Hibs in the quarter-finals, actually, lost 4-0. Kevin Harper scored a hat-trick in that game. And then later that year, in the November 1995, they won the Challenge Cup. They beat Dundee United in the final, and Dundee United had some right good players. Craig Brewster, Stephen Presley, Ali Maxwell was in goals, Christian Daly. So all guys who would go on to have big names in football. During that run, I think, like a lot of people in Stenhousemuir, you would go along and watch because everyone else is doing it. You know, they're a small team, a lot of interest in them. They're on the telly, something that you don't see a lot. So that's how I got into them. But it's a big difference when you're a wee boy. It's a big difference when you're playing Aberdeen and you're playing Hibs and there's big crowds and there's lots of excitement compared to playing like Albion Rovers or Forfar or teams like that. So I stopped watching them, but I went back when I was finishing up at high school. It'd been about 17. It would be 2004. It would have been the team were getting relegated, and I went along, and I thought, this is rubbish. This is rubbish. The standard's terrible. I've no idea how anyone can watch this every week. But then I went the next week, and weirdly in that week something happened, and I went from this is rubbish, this is terrible, to I actually love this. This is brilliant fun. And weirdly, in that second match, I've been a Stenhousemuir fan ever since. And it's brilliant. You know, the club, they don't have a lot of success. They've never won a league title. I hope that happens within my lifetime, but they've never won a league title. But it's just part of me. You know, some of the best days of my life I've had following that team and made some great friends and just love it. Love watching it. Love the people involved with it. Love the players. Love the fans. It's a great club. Love supporting them.
Best friend on TV?
On the TV, Robert Borthwick. It's got to be Robert Borthwick. I'm really, really pally with him. He's a really nice guy. When we aren't filming, and I say this is before the pandemic, I'd a lot of Saturday nights. Robert and I would go out for pints in Glasgow or Edinburgh, just wherever, and it's great. He's great company, and he's a good friend. I know that doesn't necessarily come across when we're on the show together, but Robert's a really good guy.
Yeah, I bet he's a lightweight.
Listen, you think that, but Robert's a very skinny guy, but I have seen him put away his fair share. Drinks cider like a fish. Honestly, that's it. Cider, that's all he drinks. Strongbow. Right down.
Just buy him a pint.
No, that's his. He's a cider man. That's what he's into.
Your favourite person you've worked with?
On a view from the terrace or ever in any
Ever.
ever? Wow, that's a good question. Ever. I'm trying to think of all the. That's a really good question, Darren. I've never really thought about that before. I suppose you've got to think of the people that you've worked with are people you that they can come and go, but you're friends with for life. I suppose I worked with my best friend for a wee while. We both worked at the same place, so that was good. But I suppose if that doesn't count, I would have to say like Fowler, Joel, Sean, and Robert on a view for the terrace. Like it's just like going in there every Wednesday. We're very lucky at the moment that you can't see your friends at the moment. You know, you're not allowed like household mixing. There's restrictions on that. You can't go to the pub. You can't go to your restaurant. So a lot of people won't have seen their friends for a wee while. So we're very lucky that we spend every week together. And it really makes me appreciate how much I care about them and how good it is to spend time with them. So I would have to, it's pretty an easy answer, but I'd probably have to say
How long do you normally record?
all day. When we record, it's an all day event on a Wednesday. We go into the studio at 8:15 in the morning, and we're not usually out of there till about 6:15 at night. So it's a real busy day. You go in, you get your hair, you get your makeup done, you talk through what you're going to chat about on the first segment. The first section is the most important one because that's the one that people are. Excuse me. That's the one that you really have to catch people. So if it's not quick and punchy and to the point, people might turn off. So you really have to catch them. So there's a lot of work that goes into those opening sections. And then you normally break for about 15, 20 minutes, then you're into the next section. And it's a lot of work. They're long days, but they go like that. The long days and just go so quickly just because the amount of work and intensity that you put into them. And you come in on a Wednesday night and you're just football on, get a pizza, get a lager, and that's it. Just zone out for it until you're ready to go to your work again on a Thursday morning.
What is it like being on a view from the terrace?
It's great fun, Darren. It's brilliant fun because we're really lucky. You know, we know how lucky we are. They're in a position where someone thought that we had this podcast that we were just making more for ourselves than anything. And that somebody thought, there might be an idea in here that this can translate to television. And it's that idea that you're getting to hang about with your mates and you're getting to talk about your favourite thing in the world, football, and you get to do it on the telly. And it's just great. That's the best thing about it, is knowing how lucky you are that something that you love doing and something that you love talking about, like getting to talk to you. This is great, getting to talk about football with yourself. That somebody thought this other people might be interested in it, and it's great getting to do that. And I've made like some really good friends. Like, although the people you see in front of the camera, the guys that work behind the scenes, like Jordan, the director, Andy, the producer, brilliant, really clever guys, and guys I'd say I'm quite close to as well now, and I'd consider friends. And the people who operate the cameras, the audio engineer, the makeup artist, the art designer, all the people that are in there on a Wednesday are all great people, all great guys to spend time with. And I suppose that's probably, but that's actually the best thing about it. That working environment has just been like so much fun. That's the best thing about it. And it makes a real change from your normal job to just go in there and hang about and just like you're laughing all day just because the company's so much fun.
Where about is the studio that you use?
The studio is based in Livingston, so it's like an industrial estate in Livingston. You would never go there for anything else in the world unless you need to use a warehouse, but it's tucked away there and it's freezing cold all the time. So you can't see in the telly. We've all got hot water bottles tucked behind us.
Why do you not put the heating on?
Because the room is huge. It's huge. It's like trying to think. Imagine the size of a warehouse. It's be so expensive to try and the ceilings are really tall. It'd be too expensive to heat. It's all right for the guys operating the cameras and stuff. They're all wrapped up with big jackets on and hats. But for the rest of us, we've got to cut around in our t-shirts and our hot water bottles.
That's all right for you, though.
Well, listen, Darren, it's freezing. It's one thing if you've got your hot water bottle there, it's all right, but it is chilly.
Obviously, did you always want to be on TV?
Sorry, have I always wanted to be in TV?
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't have said so. Like I said earlier, I never thought it would be an opportunity that would ever present itself. It's not as if that we had a TV show and we were trying to punt it out to people. You know, like we've got a production. It was like I say, somebody believed in it and somebody thought it was a chance we could take. So it was never anything that I thought would be viable or possible. But like I say, it's just something that was lucky enough to get involved in, and it's been a really positive and enriching experience so far.
What's the funniest thing about being on the show talking about football?
The funniest thing in the show is like Joel Sked's a really, really, really funny guy. Like he's got this smile, Joel. That's it. He's got this smile, and it's really cheeky. And you just know when he starts smirking that something really funny is going to happen. And he's got a great sense of humour, and he doesn't take himself too seriously. And a lot of the funny stuff comes from Joel because he's just such a natural comedian, and he gets loads of words wrong. He can't pronounce things properly. He takes ages to get them out, and a lot of the funny stuff just comes from Joel just being himself. And I don't know how well that translates. Like when you spend time with him, then you watch it back. I don't know how well it translates, but just hang out with Joel. Joel's a funny guy. Aye, really funny guy.
What was your ambition in life?
I suppose the ambition in life was to do something that makes you happy. Like I think life is all about, you live a long life. I'm going to sound like David Brent here, but you live for what, like 80, 85 years, however long the average is. And I suppose it's all about doing stuff that makes you happy and makes you enriching and making a difference to other people. I do sound like David Brent when I'm saying this. I know, because I can see the quote, I can picture him saying this in my head as I'm speaking to you just now. But it's true, just making a difference, being a nice person, and doing something that enriches you and enriches the people around you that you care about. So I suppose those are the most positive things.
Do you like annoying Robert Borthwick?
Any chance I get, I try to annoy Robert Borthwick. When we're on the show, like I say, I love him to bits. I love him to bits. He's a lovely guy. He's very, very funny, and he's great company. But when you're on the show, that's it. When those cameras are rolling, any chance you get to try and rip him. A lot of the stuff we say to each other can't be used because it's just too bad. But some of the stuff, we're lucky enough for some stuff to have stayed in, and when it does, that's always good.
What are the people like to work with?
Brilliant, great people to work with. The five of us that appear in front of camera, like I said, we've been friends for a long time, and we get on very well with each other, and we've all got interesting outlooks on football. But it's the people behind the camera, Darren. They're really good to work with. So Andy, Jordan, Ian Greenhill's the creative director of the show. Who's a really good guy. And we all work well, can bounce ideas off each other, and the meetings we have are always open and honest, like the feedback that we give and what we want to take the show and how we can make it better. The people behind the camera, it's great fun. I've used this expression before, so I'm going to use it again. It's like if you imagine a clock, and imagine like the people that you see in the chairs, we're like the hands on the clock. But everyone behind it is like a really important cog. And if you take one of those cogs out, you can't make a show. All the way from like me hosting the show, the guys on the couch, the people working the cameras, the sound guy, all the way to the people editing it, the people adding in the effects and the music and mixing it and stuff. So everyone plays a real big role in it. It's something I would never have really considered work until I got the chance to work in television, just how collaborative a process it is. But it's great fun. That's the best thing about it. It's great fun, great people.
Funniest thing that's happened.
Well, I don't want to say actually, because I think the funniest thing happened yesterday when we were filming. So I'm not going to answer that question, Darren. What I'm going to say is you're going to have to tune in to the show going out tomorrow night to see the funniest thing that's happened. And that's my answer to that one. It's not the answer you were looking for, but the
No,
stuff.
well, if you're not saying it, it must be funny.
It's like I say, we had a guest on with us yesterday who was brilliant value, and I'm really looking forward to seeing the episode.
What made you mention me in 2019?
What we've got the section is a social media section, and Robert goes on Twitter and he looks at all these like interesting tweets, daft stories, anything that's caught his eye, and someone coming out of a coma, and who's a Hibs fan, and the very first thing they say is "fuck the Hearts." That's hilarious.
Archer shit, actually.
Hearts are shit. I beg your pardon. anyone that says Hearts are shit, if that's the very first thing they say, you've got to think, fuck, this guy must really hate Hearts, and that's quite funny. So that's where it came up for there.
I mean, obviously, like, I made Hearts doctors watch the Scottish Cup final a lot.
I can imagine that was a good day. Were you there at the cup final?
Yeah.
How was that?
Unreal. Like, the night before, I was obviously at Gallifreydine Player of the Year's award, so I got very drunk. So I was actually quite rough the next morning. But I had 3-2 in my head, but there was no bookies open.
Yeah. You thought you had the correct score then? You thought it was going to be the...
Aye.
Brilliant.
But it's like when Stoke scored to equalise, it just seemed like Rangers fans were dead on their feet.
Yeah. Yeah, that did seem like that. We were one of my favourite bits actually that we've done a review for the Terrace. It had been 2019. We had Lewis Stevenson on the show, and that was brilliant. I mean, you've met Lewis Stevenson, so you'll know this. But Lewis Stevenson, for anyone that's not met him, is a lovely guy. So a really humble guy, a thoroughly nice guy. And he was saying to us he had never watched the game back until he was doing it with a fan. I think it was like the week previously. He was doing a watch along with a fan, like a competition winner or something. And just listen to him talk about it and get emotional talking about it was brilliant. And just him talking about David Gray scoring that goal, just what a moment! Like in my lifetime, that's one of the best one of the best single moments in football. I mean, not obviously not a Hibernian supporter, no real affinity with the club at all, but just brilliant. Like to do it in the 89th minute as well, like that at Hampden. Beg your pardon, I'm sorry. To do it like that was just incredible.
Nah, I mean, Lewis Stevenson, as you know, he's a nice guy.
Yeah. And it's good to see that at Hibs as well, like Josh Doig coming through has got a real like role model there, someone who's been played the position for years, someone that can talk him through if Doig's not having a good game or he's form's dipping, somebody that can talk to him, help him along. So I think he'll have if he wants, I imagine he's got a job for life at Hibs in whatever capacity.
Daftest thing you've done before recording?
Before recording?
Yeah.
I'll be honest, Darren, it's not very rock and roll at all when we're recording. It's because we know that the guy, the editor and the director are on a really tight schedule. So we finish up at 6:15, but they need to go and take all that footage away and edit it. So they start editing it during the day, and then it goes all the way to up to midnight with them editing it before they go to a studio in Glasgow to edit it. So, excuse me. So, in terms of like mucking about and stuff, we can't really do that. Just because if we muck around, it holds everything up, and if it holds everything up, there's you got to think of all the people there, like the cameraman, the sound guy, the makeup artist. They're all hold up as well, and it just takes time and money. And it's just you've got to be professional. I know that's quite a boring answer, but you have to be professional. You can have a muck.
And can you actually do that?
Listen, Darren, I'm a model professional. I am an absolute model professional. When I get told to do something by the producer or the floor manager, you do it. That's as simple as that. No answering back, no questions, get it done.
Is that like when your girlfriend tells you off?
I don't have a girlfriend, Darren, so that's the only time I get told off is when I'm actually filming on a Wednesday.
Oh well, lucky you then. Best game you've watched?
Right, I can tell you I'm going to give you 3 answers here, Dan. I'll give you 3 answers because they're hard to pick between them. The most recent best game I watched, and I'll say these were ones I was there in person. You get a better feel for the game.
Mm-hmm.
Stenhousemuir 3, fuck off. Stenhousemuir 4, Falkirk 2 in the Scottish Cup in 2018. That was a really, really bad. That's probably the worst Falkirk side in living memory, but I don't care. It was amazing to beat them 4-2. Stenhousemuir were excellent that day. Like really, really good. Turned in a great performance. And at the end when like Big Mark McGuigan made it 4-2 at the end, and you just knew Falkirk weren't going to come back from it. That was fantastic. That was just a great. These games don't come around that often. You know, Falkirk are a much bigger club than Stenhousemuir. Can't even remember the last time. Certainly in my lifetime, I don't think they've ever played in the same division together. So it was great to get one over them. When we won the playoff, when Stenhousemuir won the playoffs, they beat Cowdenbeath on penalties. Darren McGregor, believe it or not, was playing for Cowdenbeath back then. We beat them on penalties. That was 2009. And then in 2005, Stenhousemuir 3, East Fife 2 at Bayview. David Templeton, who went on to play for Hearts and he's at Hamilton now, he made his debut as a 16-year-old. We were 2-0 down. Templeton came on, assisted 2, scored 1 in injury time. So just an amazing moment. Like David Templeton could have gone on to win the World Cup and it would never have eclipsed his debut. Just a great moment and I'm delighted to have been there at that match.
Who were your football and idols?
That's a good question, Darren, because I didn't really start watching football properly until I was about 14. So although I mentioned that I went watch the Stenny games when I was about I would have been about 9, 10 at that point. About 8 or 9 at that point. Probably too young to appreciate it. So I didn't actually get into football till I was about 13 or 14 when I was at high school. So I couldn't really say that I had an idol growing up. But my favourite player is Francesc Fabregas, who used to play for Arsenal. I remember watching Sky Sports News. It was Sky Sports News, and they had highlights of a reserve match between Tottenham reserves and Arsenal reserves. And there's a goalie clip where this wee boy in the middle of the park, beat about 5 players, then backheeled it to someone to score. And his name was Francesc Fabregas. And I was thinking, wow, that's a really interesting name. I'd never heard of anyone with that name before. And always looked out for him since then. And then all of a sudden, he was in the first team. Then he was the captain. And just as a player, I just thought, absolutely fabulous player. I absolutely adored him when he was at Arsenal. But other guys like Ronaldinho, Ronaldo, the Brazilian Ronaldo from the 90s, he was amazing. Dennis Bergkamp, Thierry Henry, guys like that. I mean, Ronaldinho, remember he could do stuff with a ball that I've never seen anyone do before. Just incredible player.
So what you're trying to say is you lost your football virginity at 14.
If you want to put it that way, Darren, then you can do that if you want. Your words, not mine.
Nah, it's your words. Best staff night out.
Oh, best staff night out. There was a staff night out, and I think it must have been 2015. Place of work, and the lunch was booked. This is not staff night out. This was a Christmas day out, Christmas lunch out. So dinner was booked for 12 o'clock, right? Quite early, and I had my first alcoholic drink at 9:15 in the morning. I was like a White Russian that I was drinking. So it wasn't like it was a beer or anything. It was like a fucking cocktail. So it was quite strong, homemade measures. And by the time it came to the dinner at 12 o'clock, I didn't exactly have my thinking cap on, it's fair to say. So after the dinner, after lunch, we're drinking wine at lunch and stuff. And then we went to this place in Glasgow. It's called Woods, I think it was. I'm not sure if it's still there. It might be down Bothwell Street area. I think it might be down there. And it was just it was like ancient Rome. Just like, and then you would check your watch. You were smashed. You were absolutely smashed. You check your watch. And it's like 3 PM. It felt like about like 11 o'clock at night, but it was only 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And one of the guys that I worked with, I had a scarf. It was a really nice scarf. He was sick on my scarf. I had to throw it away. It got right out of hand. A guy tried to pierce his ear, the Christmas decoration, like he'd an old ear piercing, tried to pierce his ear with a needle and tried to put a Christmas bauble through it. It was carnage. You woke up the next day and you're just trying to piece it together, and you're texting your mates at work and just saying, what happened? And nobody could explain. It was just that, like, Black Friday. I mean, we've had Christmas nights out since that have been good, but none on the scale of that. That was just out of hand. Never again. Never
Did
again.
the guy managed to get a Christmas bubble on his ear?
He did, He did, and then he missed his. He slept in on his train home. He went about 5 or 6 stops past the one that he was. So he was stuck in the middle of nowhere, out in the west of Scotland. Some guy.
Well, silly bubble to his ear.
I don't know if he'd taken it out by then, but I'm sure I've vague recollections of his ear, absolutely the blood pissing out his ear after he tried to put this homemade piercing in there. Ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years' time?
That's another good question. I'll be about 40. I'll be in 5 years' time. I'll be 40. So what I hope to be is in a stable, committed, loving relationship,
Or in a care home?
Or a care home. No, in all seriousness, I think with a view for the terrace, I'll take that because I'm really enjoying that. View for the terrace is the best thing I've been involved in, and I think what we need to just make sure is we only get commissioned for blocks of episodes. So we just need to make sure that we are making as good a show as possible, that people enjoy watching and keep making a difference. We'll try to make a positive difference to Scottish football and try and show it in a different way that's not really covered elsewhere. And I think we're doing that at the moment, but we just need to keep on making sure that we're doing that. So I don't know. If we're still involved with View for the Terrace, if it's still in the air in 5 years' time, I'll be delighted with that.
Who's the strangest person you worked with from the View from the Terrace?
Craig Fowler. Aye.
Why?
It's just some of the stuff he does. It's the sort of thing you're like, oh, I've never seen anyone do that before. Just some of his like what would he do? He would come in and like he wouldn't do his hair in the morning, so he'd come in and then just like dunk it in water and just like slap water, then dry his hair and then style. I'd never seen anyone do that before. But like he's just some of the habits that he's got. But he'd know that himself. But he's a lovely guy. But it's just some of the stuff he does. There's a period as well where because of the coronavirus restrictions,
Yeah,
it has to be served individually now. So previously it'd be like a buffet. You get like a big tray of lasagna, for instance, and then you could just go up, divvy lasagna, pop it on your plate, and go and eat it. But now it's all individually packaged, which is fair enough. Previously, when there was like leftover food, Fowler would just like bring in Tupperware boxes and just take it all up the road with him. Never seen anything like it. It was hilarious. It was so funny. So that would do his dinner for the next few nights.
What started Joe with the thumbs up?
Sean, it's Sean that does the thumbs up.
Aye, sorry, Sean.
Sean, when we made the pilot, I would introduce the guys, and Sean was just sitting with the thing, he went, hello, like that, and it's just stuck. It's stuck since then. So he's been doing that since 2018, from the very first episode. It was never broadcast on the TV. That's just Sean's thing. And I think no matter if we mentioned there, if the show does go 5 years, Sean will always just do the hello.
Shouldn't you call him Neil then? From In Betweeners.
It'll always be Sean. That is it. Sean and the thumbs. Hello.
You should go, oh, friends. Next time you're there, you should say, oh, friends.
I'll try it. I'll try it next week and see if they keep it.
No, but like, so is it different how you are doing the show due to the COVID?
Aye, it's different now. I mean, the guys in the studio, you have to take it very seriously. You've got to take it really seriously. We get tested every Tuesday before we go in. Like the swab up the nose to make sure we've got it, and thankfully no one's had it, which is great. But you go in, everyone's wearing a mask. The only time we're not wearing a mask is when we're actually filming. We always and there's parts of the green room, so that's where we get changed. If there's parts where we're allowed and other people aren't, you only have one person in the toilet at the time rather than two previously. So when you're coming up and down the stairs, only one person can be using the stairs at a time. So it's just all about just maintaining that social distancing and making sure that everyone's safe. And we know that no one's got it, but just trying to reduce the risk of transmission. We got hand sanitizers, washing your hands like between each set. So it's a really clean place to work, very safe. Never been any issues. Like Andy, the producer, he's like the COVID stuff, and he'll probably drive people up the wall. He probably drives people up the wall with making sure that everyone's sticking by it. But it's just, you can see why it's got to be done, just to make sure that everyone. And I think we all feel very safe when we're on the show.
But obviously, I just want to say thanks for coming on.
No, it's a good laugh, Darren. I really enjoyed that. Thank you.
And obviously, once I end it, can I carry on talking?
Yeah, that's fine, man. I need to finish up in 10 minutes, but that's fine, man.
How many likes?
How many likes? Probably 0, because my face is involved with it.
Let's try and hit 10 likes.
10 likes, okay. We'll go for 10 likes. See how we get on.
Thank you.
No, cheers, Darren. Thanks very much, mate.